In this special report, you will hear from important people who are knowledgeable about the subject matter we're going to discuss so you can keep abreast of the important issues of today. Now, let's go to Dan and Darrell. This is Dan Perkins, co-host of Black and White, and I want to tell you about a new service we are offering our listeners who have seen their freedom of speech taken away. We want to give it back to you. Join the conversation again by stepping on the American soapbox and tell America what you think about the issues that are confronting America. Join the conversation. It's free. Go to blackandwhites.us/America's Soapbox. The rules are simple. Not longer than 3 minutes, no attacks, racial or other, on other people, and no uncivilized language. Think about what is bothering you. Then get out your camcorder or your smartphone, write a script, push the record button. Check that you comply with all the rules, and if you think you do, log on to blacksandwhites.us/America's Soapbox and upload the link to your message. Check back with us in a few days and see if it's available for everybody in America to watch. Tell your friends and family to take their turn on the American Soapbox. I'm Dan Perkins. This is Dan Perkins, co-host of Black and White Radio and TV. We started these programs to dramatically increase a civil and respectful dialogue on significant issues confronting America. We are seeking business leaders, heads of corporations, and individuals who agree with us. We have to change the conversation in America. If you want to put your company in a leadership position of rebuilding the conversation in America on important issues in a fair and respectful way, then become a corporate sponsor of Black and White shows. Demonstrate your desire to lead the country in rebuilding the conversation and click on the Make America Talk Again button. Hello and welcome. This is Dan Perkins, and this is Black and White Special Report. We're going to talk to you today about really one important issue, and that is the vaccine and the vaccination of children and masks for children. But we have some other things we want to say. So first of all, thank you, thank you, thank you. We got our numbers through August 15th, and we have trackable, verifiable 3.75 million people who listened to the show over the previous 30 days. What's equally important in the radio industry, we had over 560,000, let me say that again, 560,000 unique listeners for those shows. But it's going to get even better because 2 weeks ago, not including in those numbers, we introduced my old friend and his radio show to our network, Bill Martinez Live. He joined us 2 weeks ago on Monday and now is running approximately 300,000 listeners a week. 300,000 a week. In addition to that, we're going to be adding some new shows to the network. Shortly after Labor Day, we're going to add Charles Butler with the reality check from Chicago and his perspective as a Black man dealing with Black rights for over 40 years. He's an old friend. He is very disrespectful at times, very opinionated, and he's going to make a nice balance between Darrell and I on the issues of the day. You'll enjoy him, listen to him, so look for Charles Butler joining our network with the reality check come after Labor Day. In addition to after Labor Day, we're going to pick up Erskine Overnight, who is a historic and longtime weekend radio broadcaster syndicated in over 90 cities. He's going to bring his show on Saturday night and Sunday night to Black and White Radio and TV. You're going to be able to hear what he has to say, and we're going to open up new listeners to him. But as they say in the television commercials, we're not done yet. We have some other exciting things that we're working on that we hope to be able to announced to you in late September, hopefully. They're going to be exciting, and they're all going to be expanding the network and expanding the opportunities for people to watch us have open, fair, free, and civil discussions about the issues. And speaking of the issues, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. We're now looking at September 20th or so of being able to get our third shot for the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. Why? Because the scientists are now telling us that the longevity of the vaccine has been reduced by a third, and that when they originally thought we may not need a recharge, they're now saying, or did say, that we need it probably in 8 months after we got our shots. Now, the medical science is saying 6 months. So we're going to be looking at making another decision that after the 6 month of our 2-shot regimen, are we going to take another shot in our body for a vaccine that many scientists are now saying today is waning in its effectiveness? Why is that important? Because it's the only alternative we have for the spreading Delta variant. More shots, more shots. Is that what you want to do? Ask yourself, do you want another shot? Are you going to take it? What decisions are you going to have to make in order to take that third shot? And what you don't know is, are you going to need a fourth, fifth, or sixth? Many scientists are saying that it's past its usefulness and that the Delta variant is not being affected by the shots. We are told now, think about what we were told. When the vaccines were being developed, we were going to have a situation where we hoped that we're going to be able to protect ourselves. Couldn't say how long, but believed for a long time. But that didn't work. The scientists are telling us now that maybe 6 months. If it goes from 95% to 65% in 6 months, what if we don't get the vaccination booster shot in 6 months later? Have we lost another half? Are we down to a third protection? Nobody seems to or wants to answer the question. Now, we know that we were told that if we took the shot, we would be protected. But there is more and more evidence that people who get the shot can still get the virus. We're being told that if we get the virus, it will be less effective. We may get sick, we won't get deathly sick, and we won't have to go to the hospital. Yet there are people who have had the shots that are getting the virus and are winding up going to the hospital. What's happening is we don't know who we can trust or what we can believe. And that's a big problem. It's a big problem because for the most of the mainstream media, your thoughts and the information that you're getting is come from US sources only. Darrell and I made the decision when we decided to do this show that we want to be able to provide you, our listeners, with the best possible accurate information we can get. That's why we went to London to get one of the Europeans experts on the masks and the viruses. Let me speak a little bit about masks. We are told that we must wear a mask. Now we have to wear a mask outside because even though we've had the double vaccination, we can still get the virus. We are being told that it will be, they believe, less difficult for us to recover and less life-threatening. But it appears that more people are being infected by the corona spinoff, the Delta virus. So maybe not as many people are getting deathly sick, but a number of people are getting sick. And if the CDC is correct that once you get the shots, you can still get it and pass it on to other people, A lot of Americans and a lot of scientists are asking the question, why are we doing that? Why would you want to do that? We do know that we were misled when the FDA was considering the approval of the vaccine from Moderna. We were told that the vaccine from Moderna and Pfizer were going to be good for us for an extended period of time. Now that we know we can get sick from it, in fact, we're more susceptible to getting the virus than if we didn't have it. More and more people are beginning to wonder, why should I take it? What's the benefit to me if I have an increased chance of getting the vaccine? What's the benefit to me if I find out that I can get the infection and I could be out of work for a while? So people are now faced with the dilemma. Come September 20th, are they going to take the third shot? I don't know. Nobody knows for sure what the reaction is. But I think we have to also couple that with masks. We were told now we have to wear a mask outside in the fresh air. You have to put on a mask if you want to go outside your house. Oh, by the way, you need to wear a mask in your house also. So that concerned us a great deal. So we looked for people, doctors and researchers, who had studied masks, and we were most concerned about the implication of the masks being used by children down to at least 4 years of age. So we found Dr. Margareta Grease Beeson out of London, who is a researcher. She's an MD and a PhD in pharmacology, and she is treating people among her practice who have COVID-19. She told me a startling fact. They had a patient that over a year ago had COVID-19, survived, and had antibodies in their system. They took the double shot vaccine in March, and she has COVID-19 again, but no antibodies in her system to fight it. Nobody seems to know where it went or how it left, but it's very puzzling. And I realize it may be only one case, but perhaps others will be reported. It's important then for us to bring to you the best possible information that we can find so you and your family can make the best decision possible. Joining us today is Dr. Margareta Grease Beeson, who is a research person in both Frankfurt, Germany and London with a specialty of masks and treating young children. She's going to say some things to you that you've never heard before in the United States. It's one of the reasons we brought her on. Then after you listen to her, you have to make a decision. If you're a parent, are you going to allow the vaccination of your children under 12 years of age? And if not, you're going to have to learn to stand up and fight for the rights of your children. Interesting conversation. I enjoyed talking with her. And now Dr. Margareta Grease Beeson from London.
Neurologist and neurophysiologist. And I trained in Germany, medical school in Germany, but specialty training in New York at New York University and Mount Sinai Medical Center. And after my training, I had to return to Germany because it was a J1 visa. Initially, of course, I loved New York. I wanted to remain in New York, but it did not work because the visa expired. And returning to Germany, I've had the chance and the opportunity to get involved with environmental medicine, a part of medicine which during my university time I did not have a chance to be acquainted with or I faced. What does environmental medicine, does this say anything to you, environmental medicine then? Do you think your listeners would know what do we deal with when we talk about environmental medicine?
I never make assumptions about my listeners, so I would say just take a moment and help them understand in English what you mean.
Okay. Oftentimes, when we talk about intoxication, we think about, oh, lead intoxication, that you have to go to emergency room and you get detoxified. But what environmental medicine means, this is low-level chronic intoxication, which means that you're exposed to environmental toxins, which slowly accumulate in your system and then eventually can lead to disease, which are very individual according to your own pre-existing disease, according to your genetics, and so on. So this I found extremely fascinating and something I never or not very much heard about at university levels, working about close to 10 years at university in New York and Mount Sinai. And now in our days, I no longer can assess the brain or the nervous system without considering what the exposure to neurotoxins were of this individual patient. Does it make sense?
Yes, and I'm not departing. I just want to ask a question that I've been asked many times, and this neurotoxin discussion may or may not facilitate the answer. Doctor, people are concerned that from an early age we're putting vaccines in our children's and our bodies, and now we've put in for many, almost 150 million Americans, and I don't know how many millions around the world, we put in a couple of vaccines, and now they're talking about we have to have a third booster because the effectiveness of the vaccine had declined almost 30% in 8 months. So my question to you, doctor, with that as background, do we have a situation that these neurotoxins could come as a result of all the vaccines that we're putting in, including flu vaccines and everything else in the body? Can it compromise the body?
The thing is then that it is a slow quantity from many different angles. So I would not pick out just the vaccine as one of the main culprits, but rather it is one of many factors. And in general, it's almost the analogy you could use. If you have a glass or a bottle, whatever, you have your own genetics, you have your own childhood disease, you have all the things that can happen in your life. You're ill or you're sad for a few days, but you have a huge space of compensation and you overcome it. However, with time and with age, they accumulate and your bottle or your glass gets filled.
Right.
And then in return or in reverse, we try to define which are the factors that we have access to and we can eliminate so we can increase the compensation space. Does it make sense?
Yep. You keep pouring it in, and even though it's a little bit, it adds to what's going in the glass, and over a lifetime, it could be quite a bit.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why when I assess my patients, I never limit myself to one single factor. I understand that at the moment, vaccine are a major issue, but I do not limit myself to one single factor. One very important factor was as well the masks, or still is, because the good stuff, the oxygen, there is nothing more important for any cell of our body is the oxygen, which literally within 3 to 5 minutes, if you don't get it, you will faint and nerve cells will die. So if we withhold consciously the good stuff and we impose on our system the less good or even dangerous stuff. This does not make medical sense.
Okay. All right.
Do you understand what I want to say?
Absolutely, I do. We're speaking with, I'm going to try and get this right, Dr. Margaretta Grease Bryson from London. And she is, I want to ask you a little bit. You're a consulting neurologist and a
Physiologist,
and also
that's
have a
right.
PhD in pharmacy. How did you put the three together, by the way?
It was three different trainings. So the PhD I did right away after medical school, and then I went to America, did my residency for neurology, and then a fellowship for neurophysiology. So yeah, it's just
Okay.
a little extension.
Now, our audience needs to know that you're one of the experts that people call on in Europe. And specifically, you've been somewhat outspoken about the utilization of masks. You started to talk about the importance of oxygen. One of the things that we talked about before you came on the show was this idea that we want to put masks on children down to 4 years of age. And you have some fairly strong opinions about that. Talk to us, please.
Yeah.
This is Dan Perkins, co-host of Black and White Radio and TV. We started these programs to dramatically increase a civil and respectful dialogue on significant issues confronting America. We are seeking business leaders, heads of corporations, and individuals who agree with us. We have to change the conversation in America. If you want to put your company in a leadership position of rebuilding the conversation in America on important issues in a fair and respectful way, then become a corporate sponsor of Black and White shows. Demonstrate your desire to lead the country in rebuilding the conversation and click on the Make America Talk Again button. This is Dan Perkins, co-host of Black and White, and I want to tell you about a new service we are offering our listeners who have seen their freedom of speech taken away. We want to give it back to you. Join the conversation again by stepping on the American soapbox and tell America what you think about the issues that are confronting America. Join the conversation. It's free. Go to blackandwhites.us/America's Soapbox. The rules are simple. Not longer than 3 minutes, no attacks, racial or other, on other people, and no uncivilized language. Think about what is bothering you. Then get out your camcorder or your smartphone, write a script, push the record button. Check that you comply with all the rules, and if you think you do, log on to blacksandwhites.us/America's Soapbox and upload the link to your message. Check back with us in a few days and see if it's available for everybody in America to watch. Tell your friends and family to take their turn on the American Soapbox. I'm Dan Perkins.
After the first video I did, which was quite innocent, I did not even think that I could get any opposite opinion because it's so basic that you need oxygen. I received several messages and even from professors saying I should shut up with my nonsense because even with masks, we still get enough oxygen. And some people even sent me videos where they put one mask and had a pulse oximeter and it was still 100%, and the second and the third mask and it was still 100%. So I said, okay, can you see? We prove to you that no matter how many masks we put on our face, we still have enough oxygen. So to this, I can only say I'm impressed. If you want to wear 5 masks and you think you can still oxygenate your brain well enough, then it's your absolute right to do that. But people who consider that they want to flood their brain with oxygen because they know that their brain is a metabolically very active organ, they should please have the right to breathe oxygen. I'm a strong advocate for freedom of choice, for individuality and individual medicine and personalized medicine. So for people who feel safe and feel secure and feel happy being masked, it's no problem. And for people who feel happy to be vaccinated every other month for every new whatever variant and every new mutation, this is fine. But we should have the freedom of making our own decision. And science, we often hear that you just follow the science. Science means controversy, means discussion, means different opinion, means argument. There is not such thing as the science. Because whatever we do, especially in medicine, but in every other branch of science as well, it is, we are working with hypotheses. We try to understand how the planet works. We try to understand how human works. We try to understand how biology works. So to me, someone making a statement, follow the science, means that either he doesn't know what he's talking about or he wants to mislead us, because the science does not exist, in my opinion.
Okay, let's go back to something that you just said. You feel strongly that the decision to whether to get a vaccine or wear a mask should be a personal decision.
Very strongly.
Okay, so
very strongly, Dan.
So what do you say to those people who say, quote, the scientific people in the United States who say, if you don't get the vaccination, you're responsible for the spread of the vaccine, of the virus?
This is a statement completely pulled out of air. There is nothing so-called scientific that can back it. Because as we know, the vaccine does not protect you, protect the person from getting infected, and does not protect to be infectious and to be to transmit it. And the immunity that is caused by the vaccine is literally a few months. Just today, we did a test on one of our patients. She had COVID herself last year, mid-year maybe, responded to with antibodies, first IgM and IgG as expected, because it was fairly recent after her infection. This year, she got double vaccinated. And today, this was, I guess, in March and in April. Today, in August, we tested her immunity, and she has 0. Not IgM, not IgG. She has no immunity at all. So to give the population the false impression that you would protect yourself or you would protect others with the vaccine is, in my opinion, incorrect information. But then I would like to say I'm a neurologist, not infectious diseases physician. But what I do, I work with physiology. My strongest weapon to infectious disease is a healthy body and a healthy immune system. With a healthy immune system, I mean not a too weak and not a too overactive immune system, because both of them can be absolutely detrimental. If a too weak immune system is faced with a virus or a bacterium or whatever offender, and does not have the strength and the capability to respond or to fight back, yes, you will get ill or severely ill. If you have a too active immune system, in COVID especially, we know it from last year, is the so-called cytokine storm, which the immune system absolutely gets crazy and as well can have detrimental effects. So in my opinion, or in my experience of the last 30 years of working with patients, not infectious patients, because I'm a neurologist, but I get to see a lot of long COVID. So practically the consequences of a not well responded to, or the consequences of the nervous system for after COVID. And of course, after COVID injections, meaning the vaccine.
I can't. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So,
brain. I would like, and you know, a young brain has the highest learning capability. So we cannot say, well, if what you don't learn at age 7, you can learn age at 20. It's not the same. The younger the child, the higher the learning capability is. And the earlier we want to reduce this child's oxygen supply, the more, you know, oftentimes it is called, well, you can do damage to the brain. But the word damage is a very heavy word. So it's that you definitely prevent this most important organ of a human being to work and to function at its optimal capability. And I think this is a crime for children. No discussion. I do not need any kind of clinical trial to show this, because there are quite a few publications, and then they are again contradicted, where the way that you measured it was not the right machine or the right measuring machine that you used. I do not get into this kind of discussion. I think the brain to function needs oxygen, and the younger the brain, the more it needs. And if it does not get enough supply, its function will be suboptimal. There are quite a few the anecdotal evidence that children, their grades lowered quite significantly. And there are some schools which literally give very generous kind of grades, just not to show that there is a drop in school performance.
This is Dan Perkins, co-host of Black and White, and I want to tell you about a new service we are offering our listeners who have seen their freedom of speech taken away. We want to give it back to you. Join the conversation again by stepping on the American soapbox and tell America what you think about the issues that are confronting America. Join the conversation. It's free. Go to blackandwhites.us/America's Soapbox. The rules are simple. Not longer than 3 minutes, no attacks, racial or other, on other people, and no uncivilized language. Think about what is bothering you. Then get out your camcorder or your smartphone, write a script, push the record button. Check that you comply with all the rules, and if you think you do, log on to blacksandwhites.us/America's Soapbox and upload the link to your message. Check back with us in a few days and see if it's available for everybody in America to watch. Tell your friends and family to take their turn on the American Soapbox. I'm Dan Perkins. But to make sure that, I just want to go back. What you're saying, because a lot of people, you went rather quickly, and I think this is such an important point we need to help reemphasize. What you're saying is that it could be detrimental to a child in school wearing the open pore mask all the time in school.
To wear any kind of obstacle to its breathing. You do not need the obstacle, please. Yeah? We need the free flow, because remember then, carbon dioxide is the metabolic waste product of every single cell which we have to get rid of by exhaling it every few seconds. It's not something you do it this week or you do it next week. It's like you can, I don't know, you can fast for 3 weeks, nothing happens to you. You might get even healthier, or you might be able to not to drink water for several days and nothing happens to you. Well, if you do not breathe, you will die very soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
And if you do not exhale, if you do not get rid of the metabolic waste product, which is called carbon dioxide, you will get into carbon dioxide necrosis, and then you will get into coma, and you will die eventually. But of course, this does not, the mask, a simple mask, does not get to this degree. So I hope that your audience will not say that, oh, the neurologist said that you will die when you take a mask. This is not what I say. It's that carbon dioxide is something that we have to get rid of. We have on fresh air, we have a concentration of about 0.04 parts per million of carbon dioxide. When we have the mask, or when we have an obstacle, or especially on the FFP2 mask, I think you noticed as well, or everyone noticed, when someone comes with a very well closing mask, when they start to talk or when they inhale, you see how they inhale back their exhaled air. Did you ever see that? Mm-hmm. When you can really see. So practically, what you were just trying, or your lungs try to get rid of, no, you re-inhale it again. Please. And you do not, and you know, whenever for this kind of basic physiology, when clinical trials are demanded for, this means that either you want to buy time and you want to fool the population, or you literally do not know what you're talking about. Because for basic physiology, we do not need a clinical trial. And there is nothing on this planet more basic than the breathing physiology, which requires to inhale oxygen and, of course, the other components of fresh air, and to exhale your carbon dioxide.
Okay, terrific. Now let's. I've been reading recently that there are people who are like you, who are opposed to having school children wear masks, and their concern is what is going to be the long term, and you touched on it just briefly. What's going to be the long term impact on the development of our children if they're, in essence, starved for oxygen?
Okay, so here we get ourselves into an area of speculation because no one can predict. But on the basis of physiology, you can have a fairly clear outlook. Number one, as we said before, that this brain, which is supposed to learn as much as possible, and the learning curve is for a child or in young adolescents at the highest speed. What you did not learn at age 12, I don't think you're going to learn at age 40. Or you're going to learn with a very much bigger effort and a very much longer time. So the learning effect, so the acquiring of information and of knowledge and of will be suboptimal. This is my opinion. And again, it is the individual decision, who feels safe with this mask, who feels safe to put a mask on their children, please do it. I do not want to get into any controversy, but for all the parents and for all the people who have reservation to do this to their children, I can only support them. Yes, please. Bring your child in the, in the mountains and in the woods and in the wherever, to breathe as much fresh air as possible to flood this young brain with oxygen. So this is the first point, that possibly with low supply. As we said with a factory, if you have a factory which would have a high demand, you would have orders and everything, but you do not have a supply. Would your factory work properly? Can you fulfill the demand because you do not get the supply?
Right.
Okay, so this is one. The second one, the emotional part, our expression, our facial expression, the spontaneity of children to see the smile of someone else and to run for them and so on. So second, so the development of emotional, of social, of interaction, of human interaction, of trust is inhibited at least. Number three, we are talking about, initially we were speaking about environmental illnesses. So how many environmental factors and how many environmental toxins are we continuously exposed to? So if we additionally and voluntarily take the good part away and add to the toxic part, because carbon dioxide, yes, is a toxic because it's a waste product of our of the metabolism of every single cell. So we literally add negative factors. So I do not know, and I for certain cannot exclude that yes, we will see a further increase in early dementias. These are hypotheses, but these are hypotheses which are based on physiology. And I do not want to wait for a clinical trial to show me, yes, indeed, she was right or she was wrong. As a physician, if I have any kind of suspicion that something could be wrong or negative for my patient, it is my duty to prevent my patient from this. Does it make sense then?
Yeah, the doctors taking an oath to do no harm.
Thank you very much. Exactly, this is what it is. This is our first order of our duty as a doctor. Yes.
So, what is going on in Germany that bothers you?
Okay. Where shall we start?
Whatever you'd like.
Okay, so when the pandemic started, we all were very interested, especially first as a human and second, of course, as a physician. If it's a new disease, you want to know what you're talking about and what this new disease is about. So you were trying to, at that time, there were no publications yet. So you were listening to what is in America, the CDC. It's our Robert Koch Institute. And the director of the Robert Koch Institute gave us the daily briefing. And after about 2 or 3 days, you asked yourself, who is he talking to, or what does he think he's talking to? He just dropped a few numbers, and that the incidence is rising exponentially, and that we have to take measures which are absolutely crucial and which can never be questioned and which absolutely have to be followed as a doctor. Hold on, what are you talking about? Who do you think you are? Please give us information, and then we can decide, and then decisions can be made. And this went on 1 day and 1 week after the other. And then I thought, okay, thank you very much, but you are not a reliable source of information. And this was our main and our official source of information, the Robert Koch Institute. And then I started to go to the other sources like the social media, and there you got numbers which were seen in a correlation. For example, if in the incident or the positive tested numbers are growing, they are growing because the test number was doubled or tripled. then of course at that time it was not called the incidence. At that time it was just called the positive tested. Of course it doubles and triples as well, but it is not a exponential rise. And then I was following literally every single day for months and months. I was following the statistics of positive tested, of ill patients, and of deaths of the entire world, because corona deaths worldwide, you can get the data. And then you realize that there were 50, 60, 70 countries which have zero number of deaths, and maybe in the single or possibly in the double digits of positive tested, and they close the country. And then you ask yourself, what is going on here? And this one size fits all of a sudden the entire planet is closed. For what? Every single country has a different healthcare system. Every single country kind of approaches an infection disease with a different concept. So what is this one size fits all? This is for medicine an absolute no-no, because you cannot treat the same way an ill person, an elderly person, the same as you treat a child. And so all this were my questions were, hold on, something is not going right here.
Wow. Sounds like America.
Yes. But this is somehow the scary part as well, then, that it's everywhere the same, everywhere. And you ask yourself, for example, if for example, our chancellor would have faced the population saying, okay, apparently there is a very dangerous virus coming from China. We have to be very vigilant. We have to do our best and to really call upon the population to be responsible, to deal with it responsibly, and to deal responsible with the infectious, with the upper respiratory tract infection, which upper respiratory tract infections we have once to twice a year anyways. Yeah. So the first step to deal with the upper respiratory tract infection is to stay at home, to stay in bed, to sweat it out, to eat your chicken soup, and to drink your hot tea. And when your symptoms don't get better, you go to your GP, and then he does tests and so on. And if you're still worse, then you go to the hospital. But how was this upper respiratory tract infection dealt with? Because, oh my God, you have COVID, you have to isolate. So practically a person who has all of a sudden difficulty breathing is isolated alone with their fear. The chicken soup is put in front of the door, and the ill person takes it all by herself. This is inhumane. This is not the way to treat illness or infectious disease. And there are, from the times of plague till the times of today, there are millions of cases reported that the carer was very close to the ill person and did not get the disease. But with the help and with the care and with the love, you were able to save a patient, and not to isolate it and wait until you turn blue, and then you take him to the intensive care unit, and then you pop a ventilator on their face. This is not the way to deal with the upper respiratory tract infection, corona or otherwise. This is my opinion. Just my opinion then.
That's okay. That's what you're here for.
Yeah.
We've been talking and learning from Margareta Grease Bison, a MD and a PhD out of London and Germany. And I can't thank you enough for your time, but I'm going to ask you to do one more thing in just a minute. But I'm thanking you for spending the time, and I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. But it's been extremely informative, and you delivered everything I could have hoped for. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Dan. And I hope that, and I think then only when we literally get all together. And again, we do not want to impose our opinion on others, but we very respectfully request that our opinion to be respected as well, and we are supposed to be allowed to live our lives the way we think is right.
Wonderful. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a thing which I didn't talk to you about called the American Soapbox. And we ask a guest to give us 3 minutes on anything out of what you said. And I know it's going to be difficult for you to give us 3 minutes. Not that you can't fill, you probably put 3 hours. But the important issue, Doctor, is 3 minutes on why we shouldn't use masks on children. And I'm going to give you this start. Can you see my hand in your computer?
Yeah, I see it.
So we're going to start at 3, and then we'll go to 2, and then we'll go to 1. Okay? So are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Go.
Okay, so number 1, in medicine, before we implement a measure or a treatment, we have to prove that this treatment is appropriate, that there is a danger. So far, I have not seen in no country, especially in Germany, I relate to Germany, that it was proven that in any classroom or in any workplace, the viral load was so severe that it would require a measure. Number 2, it has to be defined that the measure that it is chosen is adequate to protect or to protect you from the so-called danger. So the mask does not protect from a virus because of the size of the virus and because of the pore size of the mask. The third is that if the danger was proven, if the measure was found to be adequate for the danger, it has to be shown and proven beyond doubt that the measure is safe and not more detrimental than the original cause. Now, the mask was not proven in none of these 3 cases. We have no evidence that there is a viral load that would, and if there would be a viral load in a classroom, then a child would not be allowed to step into this classroom. So the viral load is not there, and if it would be there, child cannot go in. Number 2, mask does not protect from a virus because the pores are too big. And number 3, the negative effects of the mask completely outweigh any kind of protection. So this would be the 3 main things and maybe the 4th thing, I do not impose my opinion on anyone. Children and parents who want to send their children to school with masks, please do it. Parents who have reservations, please to be allowed to have their children breathe fresh air.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being on and your knowledge and your personality and your animation. You were a great guest. This is Dan Perkins, co-host of Black and White, and I want to tell you about a new service we are offering our listeners who have seen their freedom of speech taken away. We want to give it back to you. Join the conversation again by stepping on the American soapbox and tell America what you think about the issues that are confronting America. Join the conversation. It's free. Go to blackandwhites.us/America's Soapbox. The rules are simple. Not longer than 3 minutes, no attacks, racial or other, on other people, and no uncivilized language. Think about what is bothering you. Then get out your camcorder or your smartphone, write a script, push the record button. Check that you comply with all the rules, and if you think you do, Log on to blacksandwhites.us, America's Soapbox, and upload the link to your message. Check back with us in a few days and see if it's available for everybody in America to watch. Tell your friends and family to take their turn on the American Soapbox. I'm Dan Perkins. This is Dan Perkins, co-host of Black and White Radio and TV. We started these programs to dramatically increase a civil and respectful dialogue on significant issues confronting America. We are seeking business leaders, heads of corporations, and individuals who agree with us. We have to change the conversation in America. If you want to put your company in a leadership position of rebuilding the conversation in America on important issues in a fair and respectful way, then become a corporate sponsor of Black and White shows. Demonstrate your desire to lead the country in rebuilding the conversation and click on the Make America Talk Again button. Thank you for joining us today for the special report from Black and White. If you missed any of this show, go to blacksandwhites.us, click on the archive section, and you can hear this show and many others. Thanks for joining us on Black and White.